Hi, Tim's Workshop here. Today I'm going to be doing a compression check on the Mercury 60 horse two-stroke engine, and I got the Mercury service manual, and I made a copy of the test procedures for this operation. Anyway, first we're going to move the for the compression check, we're going to remove the spark plugs, which I've already done. Install a compression gauge with the spark plug in the hole, which I have over here. I'll show you. Hold the throttle plates wide open throttle. So there's use a tie strap to tie them completely open when you do this. Crank the engine at least 4 compression strokes, so 4 revolutions on the flywheel at least, and then check and record the compression of each cylinder. Variation of more than 15 psi between cylinders indicates low compression. Cylinder is in some way defective, such as worn or sticky pistons and or scored piston in the cylinder. Compression check is important because an engine with low or uneven compression cannot be tuned successfully if you're trying to tune it to give peak performance. It is essential, therefore, that improper compression be corrected before proceeding with an engine tune-up. Engine scoring: if power head shows any indication of overheating, such as discoloration or scorched paint. Visual inspection of cylinders for scoring or other damage is what you do next if that's the case. So I'm just doing this because I'm cleaning the spark plugs, okay? So and I've already done a compression check on this many times, and it's been pretty good. So for being a 1996 engine. All right, so I'll show you what I have set up here. Set this down. Okay, so it doesn't say to do this, but I did it anyway. When you crank an engine, you need to ground out the point coils. So I hooked it to a ground location. I made up my own heavy-duty cable, about 6 or 8 diameter wires, and just shoved cleaned out the just kind of coiled up the ends and stuck them in the holes. It works good, especially when you're checking the timing and stuff like that. You got to do it, but being that you have these unplugged and they're close to the metal, you don't want them arcing and cause your ignition system to have problems if you do it wrong. So compression gauge, I just got an auto compression gauge hooked up. So we have that, and then I have a remote hooked up. I disconnected the main loop loon going into the engine from the control panel, and plugged in the remote. You don't have to do this, you can do it up front, but you definitely want to ground out your plugs when you do that. Also, be a good idea to disconnect your fuel line when you do this. I mean, there's fuel in the carburetors, but whatever. And then I'm going to shut this down. I'll move the camera over to show you how I harnessed up the wide open throttle. Okay, so all I did is I pulled, there's 3 carburetors on a 60 horse Merc. So I pulled up the linkage and tied it with a tie strap all the way up into position. So all 3 carburetors throttle is wide open. to do the compression check. All right, and then also when I pulled out the plugs, I have them sitting up here in order. This is the top plug, middle, and bottom plug. And in order to clean these things, I get my propane and turn it on, light it, and grab a hold of the plug with some pliers, and then just go over it and clean the end of it so your black wet looking plugs are all cleaned up. And you can change them if you want, but these are new. I mean, they're not that old, so I'm just going to clean them up before our next trip out. All right, so let's crank her over and see what we have here. Okay, top cylinder, 125. That's good. Hit the relief on it, and then we'll move it down to the middle cylinder. Also, for each one of these cylinders, they're always a little wet because of the oil injection. I clean out these things with a little paper towel. Makes a little better seal on these. Make sure there's nothing on your O-ring. And then screw it into number 2. Just finger tight. All right, try this one. Okay, it's let's see, 100, 10, 15, 20, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So it's 120 on the middle cylinder within the 15 psi. Only 5 psi difference. Okay, then the third cylinder. Let me turn this a little bit more, that way when I pick it up I don't lose it by hitting the button like I just did. Try it again. There we go. And 120 on that one as well. So they're all within 5 psi of each other. Top cylinder was 125, middle was 120, and bottom is 120. So the compression is good. So next thing is I'm going to clean up the plugs, put them back in, put everything back together, and hook up my water to the lower unit and run it for a bit, make sure it's all good, and be ready for the next trip out to the Sound and do some fishing. Hopefully. So that was the checking the compression on a Mercury 60 horse two-stroke engine. If you find that useful and you like my videos, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you like it. All right, and see you on the next video. Thanks.